In this video, I'm gonna help you deploy your own instance of Peertube. So stay tuned. This video is not gonna be like a, hey, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps and then you're done, 1 minute video. Sorry, it's not gonna be. I'm gonna approach this in a different way. I'm always a person that's trying and making mistakes and trying again until I have the right recipe. So for everything that I have deployed on Docker, it was like this, and then once it was working, I saved that compose file for my own personal records. Those are the ones that work for me in my setup. So what I'm gonna show you might not work for yours specifically, but I will show you in this video how you can get there to work for you. So that's why this video is not super short, because you're gonna see me developing the whole thought on how I'm gonna deploy this. And I'm gonna deploy this on an M4 Mac Mini. And this is a base model Mac Mini. It already has Docker installed and it has Portainer installed. So I'm gonna use Portainer to do the Docker Compose, to create the stack and so on and so forth. So I'm assuming you already have Docker installed and Portainer, and I highly recommend you to install both of them. So let's take a look how we're gonna do that. First of all, I have here the Docker Compose from their GitHub page, and I have the environment file. The environment file is basically a file that has all the more sensitive information about the database and passwords and username and things that can change at any point. And you don't want, like, in case you need to change anything in like database password, you don't want to be changing a bunch of different containers. You want all containers to look at the same file. So this is what the environment file is. I'm going to open my Portainer for my Mac Mini, and here it is. And I have 4 stacks here. I'm going to add a new stack, and this one I'm gonna call Peertube. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this compose file. Where's the copy? Here. And then pasted it here. All right, so now we have to start editing this file. A lot of things here are gonna be for our own customization. So you can comment this server section if you want to use your own web server proxy or test Peertube in local. I want to comment this out. Why? Because I already have a reverse proxy set up here. So if I open here my reverse proxy, there it is. I have all my hosts here, so I don't need that. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is gonna work for me if you don't have that. If it's gonna be your only web service that you're running, then okay, sure. Now I'm gonna comment this out, and this doesn't need to read anything. When you comment a service out like this web server, you have to comment out every line, okay? Otherwise, your stack's not gonna execute. So I commented out everything. So you can comment out this certbot section if you want to use another. Okay, same thing as the web server. I'm already using an external one, so I don't need this one. Now, could I simply delete this? I could, and have a much slimmer Docker Compose thing that I can much more easily read. But because it's the very first time that I'm deploying, and I don't know if it's gonna work out in my infrastructure, in my setup, I'm gonna leave it, because then if I want to edit, I don't need to go back to the original Docker Compose and copy and paste. So I'm gonna leave it for now. Once it's really running and it's working, then I might remove it. Now we go to the Peertube container. If you don't want to use the official image and build one from the sources, build blah blah. Okay, this one I will never really use, so I'll remove this. Image will be this one. The production. Use a static IP for this container because Nginx does not handle proxy host change without load. This container could be restarted or crash, or until Postgres database is ready for connection. Knowing that, oh good, it has a depends on here. So it depends on the Postgres. This is only gonna start once the Postgres container is running. It's doing something here that I'm not sure if I would do, which is like it said to do the static IP. I would leave Docker to deal with that, but okay, sure. Also, it has an IPv6 address. I will comment this out for now because I don't use IPv6 at all. And the environment file. Okay, on Portainer, your environment file is read not as .env, but, and it says here, somewhere, environment file, la, 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 you should use stack.env, okay? So what we can do here is we can search for .env and replace for stack.env, okay? Replace all, and there it is. It's replaced, and it's replaced everywhere else that has that .env for environment. Now, it's a very good time for me to come here to their own website, to their GitHub, copy that environment file, and then what we can do is we could add each environment variable manually, or we can use the advanced mode and just paste, okay? Then go back to simple mode and voila, we have everything here. So that's the way I would approach. Let's continue here. Ports, because this is gonna be not in bridge mode, not in host mode, but it's gonna be in bridge mode. We're gonna need to set up ports. The first port is the host port. The second one is the container port. This is a port that doesn't seem like I'm using at the moment. I'm gonna leave it at the way it is. Comment if you don't want to use the live feature. Okay, so this for the live feature, I'm gonna leave it because then I can test it. But the problem is that live feature requires fast transcoding, which well, for the Mac Mini I could do, but not where I want to deploy it ultimately. 9000, and comment if you use another web server. Okay, so uncomment. Okay, so we want to activate this 9000, make sure that these are aligned. Port 9000 sounds good. I'm not using that in that Mac Mini. Volumes, remove the following line if you want to use a web server, proxy, or test locally. So I am going to comment this out. Here is Docker volume data. Honestly, I don't know where the period goes. It goes probably in the standard folder for Docker and inside there, which is somewhere very hidden on macOS. So I'm not gonna do this. What I will do is go into my jump desktop. Now I am going to create a folder right here under my user folder, and I'm gonna call it Peertube. I will create the data and the config folders. Data, config, oops. And now everything that has a period / I'm gonna replace with users, the folder for my user account, and then Peertube and /. So I can replace that. Now I have almost the correct path. I'm going to replace this with just nothing. Users, Felipe Baez, Peertube data config. Awesome. Depends on Postgres, Redis, and Postfix. Postgres, we have here one. It's reading from the stack. It's going to go to this folder. Let's add a DB folder for this. What else? Then we have Redis, which we need a folder for it as well. And then Postfix relay. It's where we're gonna have our OpenDKIM keys. So we're gonna do OpenDKIM and then keys inside. I don't think I need to create all the folders like this, but sometimes it's good. And that's it. Now let's deal with our environment. I have my domains on pork button. So what I will do is I'm gonna point an address, a subdomain, to my web server, to the IP where my web server is. So let's do that real quick. I will put under bias.app. I'm gonna call it video, and I will put here the IP address, video.bias.app. Let's take a look now at what's the IP address for that Mac Mini. My Mac Mini is 249 in the end. So I will add a new proxy that's going to be called video.bias.app. It will go under HTTP if I'm not mistaken, 249, port 9000. That's the one we're setting up there. And I'll make sure that we request a new certificate from Let's Encrypt. Let's see if it goes through correctly. It should go. I just created that DNS record and it's pretty fast. My record is created. Now let's go back to Portainer. User, I'm gonna call it Peertube. You can call it anything you want. Password, I will call Peertube. Postgres database, it's gonna be Peertube. DB username. Now everything that has this here, we don't need to replace because it's being called elsewhere. So for example, Peertube DB the password, it's being called this. And this is being called by the environment there. It's kind of complicated, but trust me, we don't want SSL. Peertube DB host name, it's gonna be Postgres, which is the name of the container. Postgres container. Then my domain is the one that I just created here. Peertube trust proxy. All right, I'll leave it the way it is, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to change this. Peertube secret, I'm going to do something very random here. Peertube SMTP hostname, I will need, in order for it to send emails, I use Postmark as an email delivery. Come here. I'm going to skip this part of the email because you don't need to see this. At least you don't need to see my credentials. Now the rest, my email address, I'm going to call this admin@bias.app. Then postfix hostname will be, it says that's supposed to be my domain, so let's put that here. The OpenDKIM domain should have here video.bias.app equal Peertube, etc. Everything should be okay. Now, first time that I'm deploying this on a Mac Mini, first time that I'm just going like this, normally by my experience, it's not gonna work. We're gonna see an error on Portainer, then we're gonna address it. So let's try that. Then I'm gonna scroll all the way down here and click on deploy stack. I'm gonna come up to the top and I'm gonna keep an eye on a notification that's probably gonna appear here on the top. If I'm very lucky, no notification and the stack will be working and I will go to video.bias.app and it's gonna be working there. Oh, there it is, failed. Pool overlaps with other one in this address space. Okay, that's why I didn't want to use the IPv4 address the way it's set here, and only the server is having the fixed IP address. So what I will do is I'm gonna up this to 25 up here and 25 here. So what happened is I already have another stack that is using that range of IP addresses. I'm going to do it now again, deploy stack, and now it's successful. That was that instant. I didn't even cut this part. So it's now running and I can try to go to video.bias.app. All right, nothing yet. Now I reload again. There it is. Peertube is installed and running. There are a few other things that you need to do. You need to get your admin password. Obtaining your automatically generated admin credentials, you can change the automatically generated password for user root by running this command from Peertube's root directory. What if I just come to the folder, data, logs, Peertube log. There we go. Now I'm going to look for root, username root, blah, 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 timestamp, user password. There it is, right underneath root. Let me see if that's the password. Oh, wow, it is. All right, so this is the easier way. Coming to the folder where you installed Peertube, coming to data and then logs, and then opening that log, looking for root, and the password is going to be right underneath. So configure my instance. Now at this point, it's really up to you. This is just configuring, you're already running. So it was really not that difficult. I hope this video has helped you not only run Peertube on your Mac Mini or your Synology or anything like that, but it helped you go through the whole thought of how to run that instance, figuring out getting just new Docker Compose and figuring out for yourself for your own system. If you did, like, subscribe. I'm gonna keep on posting a thing. See ya.